So, do you get bored from just drawing characters in a blank space? You want to create stories, full illustrations, maybe even your own comic or animation. But for all of these, you need to draw backgrounds. Put your characters in a space. Because of this, you have decided to face your fears and actually learn about perspective. You had to watch some videos, now you know what is a vanishing point, a level, or as a line, or maybe you went further, you saw about camera picture plane, and even more. Now you're ready to draw. Perspective is simple, it is just following a grid, isn't it? And your drawing just looks off? What's happened? Well, I'll be honest, sometimes I find this whole too. This is normal in art, but at least on perspective, I think I can help you study. So, before we start our study plan, I want to break down perspective into 4 topics. Technical perspective, where we study the theory and the mathematical part of it. I like to compare to anatomy. It would be like learning the muscles, bones, and landmarks. Intuitive perspective would be our 3D sense or intuition. We can compare it with gesture drawing. Space perspective is the ability to put subjects in a world, in a scene. We can basically use it for backgrounds. Last but not least, form perspective is our sense to understand volume, how things overlap. But okay, why is that important? Simple. As we did with the other fundamentals, we need to study things in a progressive way. If in anatomy you start to learn gesture and construction, in painting values and shapes, in animation time and spacing, why do you want to jump straight into a Scott Robinson book? Why do you want to be able to draw splash art if you are not skilled enough to put a character in a space? People say that perspective is easy, but it's not. It turns understandable if you have an intuition for it. Because if you jump straight to study technical perspective, you won't get the point. Will be overwhelming. It's just like jumping straight to muscles and bones. You won't understand how to place things, and you won't understand how this will be helpful in your drawing. Because well, you probably will put clothes on your characters. So you want to start to learn by the intuitive side and learn form. And after we start to develop a good intuition, it's time to learn the more technical approach. So, for this process, you need to have good resource. That obviously is not me, but I can share some with you. Let's start with form. To me, the SES tier resource for it is Dropbox. Yes, I'm sorry, I know that you wanna do it, but it will teach you all the fundamental part of drawing, the mindset, how to approach study, and the core fundamentals. If you're a self-taught artist, you probably skipped all of this. You can see other topics with it too, and I recommend that you do so. About videos, you should take a look at Modern Day James' Perspective playlist. He teaches some good introductory techniques of how to draw a book, and I would recommend drawing along him. For books, obviously, how to draw a Scott Robinson. I tried to study this book before, but I'm not able to digest the content yet. But for what I could see and what I listened of other people, probably it's a great book. For spatial perspective, we got a lot of resources out there, especially the basics. I'm learning a lot with Taylor Boney Art Perspective series. He explained in a simple way, and each video level up progressive, with exercise and practical examples. Books. My main recommendation is Perspective Made Easy, if you're diving into perspective now. The art is kinda dated, but all of the most important techniques are on it, and it's super simple to understand. If you really want to learn a spatial perspective first, I really recommend you take a look at this book. If you already have a good knowledge in perspective, I think the best book for you would be Framed Perspective Volume 1. Different from Perspective Made Easy, this book has current art with some great illustrations. We got more new concepts like camera lens and some notes of compositions. Marcus showed for us practical examples of the techniques and his thoughts in the process of the illustrations. But the thing of this book is that it's technical. You will probably be overwhelming if you are just starting out. So, In the description, I put a playlist of perspective videos and link of helpful stuff that I found on the internet. Now that you watch some videos, you need to practice. So I will give you some recommendations of how you can practice. Again, I would recommend you give a try to draw a box. So for the first exercise, you can start doing some observation drawing. Take some stuff and do a nice composition and try to copy. It doesn't need to be perfect, and I also recommend setting a time limit to do it. For the second exercise, take a photo of your room, of your neighborhood, whatever, it can be even something on Pinterest. Try to deconstruct it, find the horizon line and the vanishing points. For the third exercise, try to do some compositions again, following 1, 2, 3 and 5 point perspective. For the fourth exercise, draw a bunch of boxes in different angles, but try to keep the distortion solid through the whole page. So now, for the fifth exercise, draw boxes in different angles again, but try to put some objects inside of it. If you did all of that multiple times, you probably are getting a sense of perspective. Now things start to get interesting. Take your favorite show, comic, illustration, deconstruct it, and try to redraw. Can be just using boxes if you want, but if you prefer to go further, have fun. And for the last exercise, do your own projects, your own drawing. Obviously, if you're reading a book, doing a course, or following a YouTube series, you should follow along and do the exercises. All of these are just some recommendations what you can do to practice. But how can we plan? Where did you even start? How do you study? So I will share what I do to have an inspiration of what you can do. But remember, everyone is different. What works for me may not work for you, and my goals can be different from yours. Just keep that in mind. So I like to use Notion to organize my studies. I like to divide each day into 3 sections. The first one being the warm-up, where I practice draw box and line quality, and the other 2 sections I study what I've planned. I like to take some time in the Sunday to plan what I will do, because I found if I don't have a clear goal, I start to procrastinate a lot and draw random stuff. I like to use Animidoro, it's just like Pomodoro but with a longer time, but honestly I don't like to follow it that much. I normally stop when I get tired, or I just continue if I'm in the flow. I like to divide my weekdays like that. On Monday, I study the theory and I read the books and follow along. Tuesday and Wednesday, I practice. Friday and Saturday, I take to practice animation. I copy some cool anime scenes and do some exercises. I don't actually follow this routine strictly because some days I'm really tired to study, so I try to just have fun with what I do. Or I just take a rest. It's important too. Perspective is hard. If you push yourself too much, you will be burned, but it's also the most rewarding fundamental. So you need to make ways to have fun with it, to really enjoy the process to make you keep going. Draw, make mistakes, learn from them, repeat. Remind yourself, if you want to get better, you need to actually spend time practicing. If you want to learn how to swim, you gotta swim.